Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar series from Palmer Holland featuring ABATETEC Corporation's NutraFirst product line. Before we begin today, I'd like to introduce myself, Palmer Holland, and our presenters. My name is Brendan Michael. I've been with Palmer Holland for a little over 5 years now, and the past 3 years I've been a part of the health and nutrition team, acting as business manager for the ABATETEC relationship. Palmer Holland began in 1925 as a specialty chemical distribution company. And since then, we've leveraged our specialty distribution skills, logistical knowledge, and expertise to expand into the food and beverage market. So today we have a food and beverage team that is specialized with clean label natural nutrition that is from plant, grain, fruit, marine, and algal-based raw materials. Our team consists of 9 members with over 120 years of specialty ingredient and distribution background, as well as technical acumen. We also have a nationwide network of warehouses that cover coast to coast and allow our customers shortened lead times and reliable stock. Today, our presenters will be Dr. Alice Herschel, Technical Business Director, and Amanda Coulter, Marketing Research and Communications Manager for ABATETEC Corporation. Additionally, at the foot of your screen, there should be a Q&A feature. So please feel free to click on that and type in any questions in the text box throughout the course of this presentation, and we'll try to address your questions as they come in. Additionally, if you signed up in advance of today, you should have received a demonstration kit, because today we'll be doing a live demonstration on how the MCTGA gets mixed into a beverage. So if you could have that ready, you'll be utilizing that in a few moments. At this time, I'll be turning the presentation over to Amanda.
Great, thanks Brendan, and thanks everyone for joining us today to learn more about ABATEC's clean powdered lipids. So I'm Amanda Coulter. I lead all of the marketing and communication efforts for ABATEC. I have 10+ years experience in B2B marketing for the industrial manufacturing space and have been involved in many other areas of business throughout my career and since joining ABATEC about 5 years ago. ABATEC is owned by Associated British Foods, a global food company located in the UK. Our corporate office and manufacturing facilities are located in the US, but we supply specialty lipids globally for the nutritional, pharmaceutical, and specialty industrial markets. We have over 60 years of experience in ester chemistry and produce a wide range of products that meet global regulatory requirements. Today, we're going to focus our content around the value and ease of formulating with clean lipid powders in your end-use products. But before we get started, I want to introduce our other speaker for today, Dr. Alice Herschel. Alice has 10 years of research and disease nutrient interactions and 9 years product and commercial development experience in the food and nutrition industry. She graduated with her BS and PhD in nutritional sciences and began formulating supplements as a product development scientist at GNC, then transitioned to commercial development with Enhancement Nutrition, and now at ABATEC handles technical, commercial, and business development for our nutritional market. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Alice, and she's going to talk to you about the science behind lipids, the benefits of using powdered lipids, and introduce you to ABATEC's product portfolio. Alice?
Thank you, Amanda. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. As Amanda mentioned, I'm going to touch on kind of the basics of lipids and why we want to use them in formulations, and then go to powders and why we want to use powders. So lipids, or fats, are a macronutrient. They are required for the body to live. But lipids are structured very, very differently than a carbohydrate or a protein. Proteins and carbohydrates can be very large, branched type molecules, whereas lipids are a glycerol backbone with 1, 2, or 3 fatty acids. Typically, there are 3 fatty acids. That's going to be the most efficient form. These fatty acids can be saturated or unsaturated. They can be short, medium, or long chain. There are 2 essential fatty acids that you must consume from the diet, the linoleic and alpha-linolenic acid. These lipids, these fats, are, again, they are used as energy storage. That's why we store it as fat on our body. And that's how plants and other animals also store energy. Lipids are used as building blocks for most of what's in your body, as well as messengers between the cells in your body. And then again, as structural components within those cells.
Hey, Alice, we have a question here. One of the attendees is asking, or stating rather, aren't saturated fats unhealthy? Could you explain?
Sure. So fats, there has been a history of vilifying fats in general, and specifically saturated fats, as they have, discovered that unsaturated fats like fish oil and olive oil can be very beneficial. Some saturated fats have been shown to potentially, increase blood cholesterol and perhaps leading to cardiovascular health issues, but not all saturated fats are the same. So medium chain saturated fats, which are 8 and 10 chain lengths, they actually have not been shown to have the deleterious effects of the longer chain saturated fats. So the stearic acid, for example. So it really depends on the type of saturated fat. And there has been, a lot of misinformation about lipids in general out in the last couple of decades. And so it's a great question, and there are some saturated fats that we definitely don't want to take too much of. So different types of fat. Again, fats naturally come from plants and animals, as that's how we store extra energy. Solid fats are fats that are solid at room temperature. These are often higher in saturated fats that we just talked about. They are primarily animal fats like butter, but there are exceptions, like coconut oil is also solid at room temperature. There are then oils, which are liquid at room temperature. These are typically from plants, again, olive oil. There's an exception, of course. The longer chain and unsaturated fats from fish oils are also liquid at room temperature. And then another way to categorize lipids are, simple or mixed triglycerides. So in the functional food and supplement space, simple triglycerides are common. This is the same type of fatty acid on a glycerol backbone. These are used primarily because they provide a single function in a formulation, and they have very high purity. So they're very easy to work with, and they're very clean to work with. Mixed triglycerides have one or more different types of fatty acid on the glycerol backbone. This is more common in food as well as some supplements. These are more recognizable to the consumer as well as the label, because they are more naturally occurring in nature. And they can provide multiple functions within the formulation, depending on what the fatty acids are that are included on the mixed triglyceride. So as mentioned, the types of fatty acids can be short, medium, or long chain. Short is considered anything less than 6 carbons. Medium chain triglycerides, or MCTs, are typically 6 to 10 chain lengths. These are typically from palm or coconut. And then the long chain fatty acids, again, can be saturated or unsaturated, and they come from all different sources: fish, olive, canola oil. For lipid metabolism, there are MCTs are, when they're absorbed into the digestive system, they go into the intestinal cell, and then they are actually absorbed directly into the liver through the portal vein, which is, once they are in the liver, then they can be metabolized into ketone bodies, things like acetoacetate and beta-hydroxybutyrate. Those ketone bodies are then able to go into the circulation. They're able to cross the blood-brain barrier, and they are able to provide nutrition or energy for muscle tissue, brain tissue, any tissues that may be in need of energy. And again, those are the ketone bodies coming from MCTs. Long chain fats are absorbed in a very different process. So long chains, once they come into the intestinal cell, they are formed into chylomicrons and are then sent through the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system actually takes it through the body and comes out near the heart to go into the blood and then into the liver. Once those long chains are in the liver and they are repackaged into VLDL, then they can take those lipids to tissues in order to be utilized as energy or building blocks or components within those cells. And again, so just very different ways of, again, utilizing those lipids, either quick energy from an MCT or utilizing long chain fats for, sort of that first pass metabolism to go through the lymphatic system. Okay, hopefully the next slide does have more pictures on it. So some of the health benefits, regardless of how these are going to be absorbed, are kind of listed here. So for healthy energy, really all fats, and the medium chain as well as the long chain can provide healthy energy, whether it's the quick energy through the portal vein to the liver or the longer chain fatty acids through the lymphatic system. Another health benefit is cognition. Again, both MCTs and long chains like DHA from fish oil or algal oil support, brain health, so can actually fuel the brain. These lipids also support weight management. Again, the medium chain as well as some of the longer chains have been shown to support satiety, increase thermogenesis, as well as enhance metabolism. So lipids also can improve sports performance, specifically endurance performance, as well as support sports recovery, really for any athletic event. As we mentioned, they can also provide healthy energy for the athlete. Joint health and immune health, benefits of lipids typically from longer chain fatty acids, again, like DHA, support both joint and immune health, as well as cardiovascular health. So oils like canola oil and the fish oils will support heart health as well. So it's kind of the basics of, what are lipids and why would we use them? Why are we going to look at a powdered lipid specifically? Why not look at the solid or the liquid oils? And for formulators on the call, that formulating with the powder is much easier. And on the next slide, really the picture just speaks 1,000 words as to why you would want to formulate with the powder rather than an oil. So for the same dose of MCT, it goes into coffee, beautiful creamer, versus the oil sits right on top. So we would definitely want to include the lipids, right, to have that function to improve the mouthfeel, has a creamy texture. And again, it provides nutrition, right? All the benefits that I just talked about, we want to include in our functional food or beverage, but with the convenience of a powder. And again, just looking at that picture, we know why we want to formulate with the powder, as the oil can float on top. And anybody who has consumed MCT oil on an empty stomach, you may have experienced some stomach cramping. Working with an MCT powder also can reduce or eliminate that GI issue. So it does improve the GI tolerability of some of those oils. All right, so for ABATETEC's clean powders, when we are making our powdered lipids, first we start with a stable emulsion. We mix the ingredients or the lipid with the carrier and the emulsifier, and we make sure that that's a stable emulsion, and then we spray dry that. The spray drying helps make a micro encapsulated lipid particle. And then this encapsulation of the lipid actually protects it, right? It protects it from light, temperature changes, oxidation, and it increases the stability with that lipid within that powder matrix. It also provides a consistent particle size and particle shape. And there's evidence of that in our powders, and we'll show in the live demonstration as well, if you had received the box, that when our powders are mixed into water or any type of beverage, there's no oiling off, right? There's no separation kind of once it goes into solution. And then second, they're dispersible in water, and they stay in water, or whatever the beverage mixture might be.
Hey, Alice, we have a few questions as a result of this slide. The first of which is, could anything on the processing end cause the powder to oil out?
So in general, our processing and manufacturing, no. I have not experienced or heard of anyone working with our powders that have had that issue. However, I don't have stability information on if you use the powder and you mix it into a beverage and then the beverage is the final product. I don't know the stability of that long term. That's not typically how they're formulated. That's not how they're utilized. But that, again, I don't know how long they would stay mixed in that kind of a water or a water-based matrix.
Another question here we have is, how are you measuring the stability of your emulsions? I know you're just touching a little bit, but on the stability there.
Sure. Yeah. So again, I haven't specifically measured the MCT-GA, which is the one that we're going to talk about, but we can look at, we actually have machines in our lab that look at globule size of an emulsion. So for the powders, it would be a similar activity to put it in and determine what that globule size is right when it's mixed versus after manufacturing process, and then again sort of after you put it into a formulation.
The last question we had here was, will the customer have to put on their ingredient declaration the flow agents, emulsifiers, anything like that?
Yeah. So when looking at labels, as ABATETEC is a raw material supplier, we can provide guidance, but the finished product company is responsible for the label. The flow aids, for example, the processing aids in our NutriSperse powders are all included at 2% or less. So they are not required to be on the label. But again, that would be the choice of the finished product good. And the oil type and the carrier of that oil, which we'll see, I believe, on the next slide, would be declared because it's greater than 2% of the formulation. All right, yep. So on this slide, we do just a table, sort of a cheat sheet about what our powders include. So the oil type, either canola, high oleic sunflower oil, or the MCT oil. The type of oil, and then the carrier. So the carrier would need to be on the label. Some are dairy due to providing that creamy mouthfeel. Some are non-dairy, to include for the non-allergen type of customer. And one of the things that we do like to highlight is that the MCT powders are made using ABATETEC's MCT oils that are manufactured in the United States. And so we do have that benefit of being integrated with the MCT oil manufacturer. So for the NutriSperse powders, from a regulatory perspective, they are permitted by the FDA. Again, all the no's, right? No non-hydrogenated, no trans, non-GMO. We do have dairy and non-dairy, so half of them are non-allergen as well, and they are manufactured in the United States. Our powders do contain up to about 70% fat, depending on the product. The MCT powders are made with either palm or coconut, again with that optimal C8, C10 benefit, depending on the health benefits that you are looking for in your final formulation. Again, why do we formulate with powders? Because they are much easier to formulate with than oils and solid fats. Our powders are also dispersible in hot and cold beverage, and I have a table of what I did at home. while we're all stuck at home, and how that worked. And then, as I mentioned, working with powders, specifically MCT powders, really improves that GI tolerability of consuming a nice, again, 10 to 20 gram dose and not having any GI issues.
A question here for you, Alice. Since we're talking specifically about a powder here, a customer wanted to know if they should be concerned with high heat, if it's going to increase browning or flavoring or anything of that note.
Sure. So our powders, when they are spray dried, that process does use heat, and those will be safe, again, within the safety temperature of the lipid that you're using. If you further heat the powders, there will be browning. Basically, you're going to be burning, browning, sort of cooking, whatever the carrier is, either the dairy or, for example, gum acacia. You can sort of cook the gum acacia to be a darker brown color. Again, they're pretty stable. That's an unusual process, right, to cook the powder itself. Mixing into hot, for example, like a high temperature beverage does not cause a problem. That would not be an issue. But again, the powders can brown if you cook them sort of on your end, of the process. All right, and then as mentioned, my son and I did some at-home sort of experiments to kind of give you an example of what these powders can do. So the video is going to look at the MCT 70 and the MCT GA, and those of you who registered early and got your box, you have the MCT GA samples with you. I also did experiments looking at the HOS 70 as well as the HOS 73 powders. So this is just looking the MCT 70 versus the MCT GA powder on a plate. They're nice, pretty flowing powders. The GA does have a slightly different, consistency when you feel it. And then this is mixing 15 grams. This is about 10 grams of MCTs into hot water. And my son does come in and help a little bit. And we did speed up the video, and at the end, there's a table that will show how well everything mixed into these solutions. So this is us mixing it into Gatorade to show an acidic solution, and then mixing it into hot coffee. And this is one we'll do live as well. All right, and as mentioned, this is just a sort of a table, a cheat sheet of what I did at home. And just stirring the powders was not quite vigorous enough in order to get everything into solution. As you can see that in the cold water, the non-dairy did not go totally into solution when stirring. And on the opposite end, the dairy formulas did not go totally into solution. Again, just stirring. However, when I used a hand blender or the shaker bottle, like the shaker bottle that is included in the box, everything went into solution. They were beautiful. The dairy did cause a little bit of bubbles right after shaking. And these also mix really easily into food products like yogurt and oatmeal and things like that. So for those of you who have the product at home, very easy to mix into all different types of food, as well as into a beverage. And then, again, at home, this is not, technical. This is not in a large blender situation. And those would be obviously much easier when you have manufacturing type equipment. All right, and next, again, for those of you who have a box, this is where we're going to kind of switch over, and we're going to do a live demo. So we want to everybody get the shaker bottle that came in the package, as well as the NutriSperse MCT GA sample. The sample can clump a little bit or settle over time with the shipping. All you need to do is just give it a little shake, maybe before you open the container, and that helps get some of those clumps out. All right, then your favorite beverage that you want to try, the MCT GA in. I've chosen coffee. And then Also have your either choice of creamer, it could be dairy or non-dairy creamer. I'm just going to use water so you can see the color, you can see the texture of when these are mixed. And then again, I'm going to use, I just have a tablespoon. You guys can use any type of measurement. So what we are going to mix is about a tablespoon of MCT-GA with a tablespoon or so of, again, your creamer. I'm using water. And then we want to shake that up. If you want to make more than a tablespoon, please do so. Just make sure you mix about a 1-to-1 ratio. You can even use your coffee to mix it in. You can mix the MCT-GA directly into your cup. Just make sure you have enough space to mix it. Again, fairly vigorously if possible. All right, once it's in the shaker cup, just mix it up. Hopefully you mixed it up enough that it will just go right into coffee. Gives it a little bit of that creamer look. And again, if you used your creamer, you would have a good taste as well. And while we all enjoy our cup of coffee, we are going to get those MCTs, and I'm going to transition this back over to Amanda so she can tell us where we want to use it. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Alice. So now that Alice has given us some background and education on the science behind lipids, explained the benefits of the powders versus liquids, and introduced you to the NutriSperse portfolio, I just want to take some time to go through some of the core markets and applications that these are typically used in and successful in. So one of the largest global markets in the nutrition space is by far weight management. And with different dieting fads and trends kind of continuing to grow in this space, so is the expectation of consumers for more convenient, tasty, healthy options. So challenges for formulators really becomes creating those in-use products that withstand that function, nutrition, and the taste that consumers are looking for. So ABATETEC's tried to create something for everyone. As you can see, all of these products listed here have a high oil load from a healthy source of fat, whether that be medium chain triglycerides or the high oleic sunflower oil, plus those added benefits of being non-GMO, trans fat free, neutral taste, and that excellent dispersibility that Alice was just demonstrating. So when we look at the MCT offerings here, we have 70% of MCTs in these, so you're really getting a good dose of that healthy fat. That's going to aid in increased thermogenesis and satiety. It's going to enhance your metabolism and really reduce those feelings of hunger. So it's perfect for weight management, weight loss, and even ketogenic lifestyles. And then we have our high oleic sunflower oil options, which are giving you still that healthy source of fat, but these are low in those saturated fats that we talked about and higher in the monosaturated. So they're going to support that lower cholesterol and kind of overall heart health. So both the MCT-GA and the HOS70ND offer you something on a non-dairy base, so for vegan and allergen-free options, whereas the MCT-70 and HOS73 are going to give you that dairy base. So it's going to, add some calcium and protein to your formulation with kind of a creamier flavor profile. But all of these products are excellent for beverages, powders, or even bars. So although a much smaller market, I guess in terms of revenue versus weight management, the sports nutrition space is really growing at over 9% annually. And because of kind of the versatility of the consumers in this space, being anything from your professional athlete to your normal kind of commit to be fit consumer, there's really a range of needs that need to be met by manufacturers. And when we look at this space, we see kind of an obvious separation between dairy versus non-dairy product offerings. So whether people are balancing macros, watching carbohydrates, or avoiding, certain allergens, it's important that companies really offer a mixture between these two. So we're going to look at them separately. Our dairy-based products listed here offer a few different options to formulators. So when we look at sports performance needs and recovery benefits, our MCT products are always a great choice. You'll see here our MCT 70 and our C8 are going to give you that, again, high percent of MCTs for quick and sustainable energy. Particularly the C8 is going to give you that added benefit of getting the quickest, most efficiently absorbed form of energy from that healthy fat source. In addition, because these are on dairy basis, you're going to get those protein and carbohydrates to aid in muscle and build and repair as well. We also have our HOS 73. So this product's going to give you that heart healthy option, still on a dairy base. The buttermilk in this product's going to add, again, a great thickening effect and give your product a more creamy filling flavor profile. So all of these great dairy options for your sports nutrition products. All right. So as allergens kind of become more of a concern to consumers and they're watching their carbohydrates, whether it be for keto or macros, formulators still have to find a way to develop healthy products that taste great that have the same benefits of energy, sports performance, and recovery in their formulations. So ABATETEC offers a range of products that can meet these needs, but are on a non-dairy base. Our MCT 50 contains 50% of those MCTs spray dried onto maltodextrin. So still providing the same benefits of that healthy source of fat, but now it's on a non-dairy allergen-free base. The maltodextrin gives this product a thickening effect, which can be perfect for nutritional beverage bases or sports performance, endurance gels, and even bars. And then the MCT-GA, this is on the gum acacia. This meets those needs of more label-conscious consumers who are looking for something more natural, non-starch, and recognizable on the label. So still providing the same benefits from those MCTs with a neutral kind of flavor profile, perfect for sports and energy beverages, or even incorporating into those CBD drinks that are really growing in this space. And then lastly, we have our HOS 70 ND. But this is, high oleic sunflower oil again, but now on a non-dairy base. So still high energy from those fats, but lower carbohydrates and easily kind of incorporated into a range of different applications.
Hey, Amanda, we have a question, and I thought it may have been addressed earlier, but there's a customer asking if there is any offerings that allow for 0 added carbs in the carrier, like a digestible fiber.
I'll probably hand that one over to Alice to answer.
Sure. So there, at this time, gum acacia would be, I guess, the closest option, but it is still under FDA review as to whether or not gum acacia is considered a dietary fiber or would be listed under total carbohydrates. And so today, the answer is no. None of our powders have a 0 carb, again, sort of inclusion for like a keto type of product. MCT-GA is very low, as well as the MCT 70, and the MCT C8. They are on not-fat dry milk, which is quite low in carbs, but they do include, I think it's about 3 grams, depending on the serving size, of course, but they are not 0.
Okay, thanks, Alice. So we've talked a lot about kind of energy for our bodies to keep us moving, but what about our brain and our minds? We're all kind of challenged every day now to remember more and do more. And so consumers are really becoming more concerned with the aging of their minds. And because of this, the space for products that offer kind of cognitive enhancement or promote healthy aging are continuing to grow. So studies have shown that MCTs not only provide that quick energy for your body, but also to your brain, supporting cognitive health. And as we age, glucose uptake declines in our brain, and this energy deficit is suspected to be a cause of decreased cognitive function. However, if we take MCTs, like Alice just put into her coffee, it's shown to fill this deficit and provide the energy that we need to maintain memory, focus, and prevent kind of that cognitive decline. So all of these products we've talked about and seen in some of the previous slides, but they contain those MCTs. And that's going to aid in that cognitive enhancement that I just talked about. So whether you need dairy or non-dairy options, label-friendly, allergen-free, we sort of have a full range of product offerings that can meet those needs here. And as you saw earlier, you're going to get that great dispersibility. So these can be incorporated into really everyday beverages, whether it's your hot tea or your coffee, energy drinks, or even water. These are going to go into solution really consistently and easily for you.
Hey, Amanda, we have another question here. And the customer is asking what medical claims can be made on the finished product manufacturing? And then if so, what is the minimum dosage that they will need to use to make those claims?
Sure. So yeah, I think Alice sort of mentioned this earlier about labeling. As you know, a raw material supplier, we can't really tell you what claims you can put on your end use product. However, we can provide you background information, research studies that show the different claims that are out there that support some of these, different benefits that we've been talking about today. And so definitely we can support that and help provide some guidance on it, but it's really up to the end use manufacturer to determine, what claims they want to make for their product. And I think the other question was about dosage. Again, I think, there are different recommendations out there for how much, consumers should consume of MCTs and how much should go into the product. I think it really depends on the formulation, and what is needed for it. It could be a tablespoon, it could be more, it could be less. So again, I think that's more just working together to figure out what works for the formulation and for the needs of your product offering. Great. So the versatility and kind of this excellent dispersibility of the NutriSperse product line really makes them great for obviously meeting a wide range of needs, and especially for this more widely known market of functional food and beverage. They're a great way to add healthy fat sources to different products, whether they be sauces, spreads, bakery mixes, and beverages, while still kind of maintaining that good flavor and mouthfeel for those products. So our MCT 50 and HOSO-M, for example, are products that both contain maltodextrin. And this is an ingredient that's actually already widely used in the food space to improve flavor, thickness, and even shelf life of products. And then our MCT-GA, which we've talked about a few times on gum acacia, is really unique because it offers a more label-friendly option that's non-starch. Gum acacia is great as a coating agent for different confectionaries and as an emulsifier and stabilizer. So you're getting some additional benefits from that ingredient in the food space that you may not get with the other ones. And again, has the MCTs in it, so getting that additional health benefit as well. So depending, I think, on the requirements of your application or what you're kind of trying to incorporate these into, they really can provide some unique functional and nutritional benefits for this space. And you can see, you know, the versatility across our product line and what we offer, you know, is pretty wide. And so pretty much any of our products can be used within this space in one way or another. And we're going to take a look at actually the ways that NutriSperse could be used in the kitchen or in the lab next.
Before we do our next bit here, we have a question. A customer is asking, how can I get my CBD oil to be water soluble using these powders?
I would love for Alice to answer that.
Of course. So we have actually done some benchtop work with our other ingredients, our MCT oils and our emulsifiers, just on our benchtop in the lab. And we have successfully made emulsions, a few that are clear, actually, and then a handful that are coarse emulsions. We have looked at them for beverages. At this time, I have actually not looked at the NutriSperse powders into these emulsions. So offline, perhaps we could talk about the benefits of some of our other ABATETEC products and how those can help with your CBD emulsions. However, I have had success with a CBD emulsion, some of our MCT oils, and a gum acacia. So the next time I can get into the lab, which I don't know when that will be, I am actually planning to try our MCT GA in those types of emulsions, because we had success with our Captex MCT oils alone, and we've had success with gum acacia. So I'll be real curious if the NutriSperse powder adds an additional benefit. But again, offline, happy to talk about the CBD emulsion successes that we have had with our other ingredients.
And then similarly, the customer was wondering if the MCT imparts any flavor on the finished product, or I thought it was mentioned earlier that it doesn't, but could you clarify?
Absolutely, and I may have forgotten to mention this, but the MCT oil itself does not add flavor or odor. They are actually very clean, very pure. Anybody who got the sample box, you can smell your MCT GA sample. That's actually made with a coconut MCT oil. It doesn't really smell like coconut. It may smell a little bit like gum acacia. And the other powders will smell a little bit like their carriers. So there's a little bit of a dairy smell on the dairy carriers. But the MCT oils alone, no, they do not have a smell and they do not have an odor.
Great. Thank you, Alice. So I do want to touch briefly on, as I was saying, just how easy it is to incorporate NutriSperse into not only your in-use formulations, but as Alice has kind of already shown, into your homes. So for those of you that received a box from us, in each of the boxes, we did include a hard copy of our NutriSperse cookbook, which does show some formulations that could be used in the lab or at home using these products. And you'll notice, you know, that these are all easy, very easy formulations, very easy to do. Alice is actually going to share with us a video, which I'm going to talk through on the next slide, of her really making one of these at home, as we refer to them as recipes in her house. And so these are the granola bars, which she did chocolate chip. And she's actually going to be incorporating our MCT GA into this recipe that she's making. You know, and these are all products, you know, that you may have at home. So some of you could probably try these this weekend if you wanted to. But you'll see here she's putting in the NutriSperse MCT GA. This could be a great option for bakery mixes. So making dry mixes as an end-use product would be a great way to incorporate our NutriSperse powders into those to sell to consumers. She's gonna just put this in the oven. quick and easy. And you'll see, I mean, we call this an at-home formulation, but these could really even be turned into, right, an end-use product that you can make for your consumers as well. So great job, Alice. Thanks for sharing that. So I know we've kind of covered a lot in a short period of time, but I do want to summarize just a little bit. You know, these powders, as you've seen, they bring a lot of function and nutrition to kind of a wide range of markets and applications in the nutritional space. And depending on kind of what your application needs are, Palmer Holland and ABATETEC have, you know, a full technical team. We're here to support you and help you in your formulation process. You know, and we do provide free samples. Those can be requested through your Palmer Holland contact. We know that there's a lot of trial and error in developing these products, and we definitely want to be there to support you and work alongside you in that process. So with that, thank you to everyone. I'm going to hand it over to Brendan to wrap up and see if there are any more questions.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Alice. Appreciate that. As mentioned, we're going to be taking some questions here. If you have any questions after the webinar today, the ingredient consultants' contacts are all provided below. And this map here just shows their territory, so you know who to contact. So at this time, you know, any additional questions you may have, please just type them into the text box. We'll be happy to address them. There were a few that actually happened on the last slide there that I would like to bring up now. The first one was, in a bakery application, can MCT replace fats that are typically used in like a 1-to-1 ratio?
You going, Alice, or you want me to take it?
Sure. Yes. So the short answer is yes. For many of the applications, MCTs can replace much of the fat. The potential exception is if you are using eggs. That egg can provide both fat and protein, and so there may need to be an egg white, for example, added if you're going to use the MCT or any of the NutriSperse powders instead of like the egg yolk, which would provide the fat. And then again, from a consistency perspective, you may have to balance it out within your recipe, but in general, yes, they can be swapped out fairly easily.
Earlier, we talked about MCT being utilized as a carrier oil. A customer wanted to know what the difference is between MCT and a standard palm or coconut oil.
Sure. So MCTs are sourced from either palm or coconut. Those are going to be the two main sources of MCT. There might be a little bit, I think, in goat's milk, but not very much. And so from either palm or coconut, those MCTs are basically going to be pressed out of those oils and then separated, right, to get a pure C8 or a pure C10 or a combination of the two. The difference is that we are really isolating, right, or separating the C8 and the C10 chain lengths. Coconut oil itself, right, which is solid at room temperature, yes, has the C8, the C10. It also has a lot of C12. Also, longer chain fatty acids. You know, really that mixed triglyceride is what a coconut oil or even a palm kernel oil would be. And so we just take out the MCTs that we want and then make those into the MCT oils.
Thank you. Another question here is on thermogenesis. A customer wants to know, how does MCT support this?
Sure. So I'm not sure of the exact mechanism of action, but within clinical studies, looking at subjects typically who are exercising, they will look at how many calories the body burns, or thermogenesis, when the subject takes either MCTs or like a long chain fatty acid or some type of placebo control. And when the consumers take the MCT oil and measure thermogenesis, they are actually getting that increase in calorie burning. One of the hypothesized mechanisms is that the MCTs, because they are metabolized through the portal vein, are providing a very quick source of energy, and that energy is then being burned off while they are exercising, causing that increase in thermogenesis.
Earlier, we showed some of the carriers that were being utilized on our products, and maltodextrin was mentioned. What is the maltodextrin source that's non-GMO? Is that tapioca? Is that corn, or is that something else?
That's a good question. I do know that we have it non-GMO. I believe that the majority of it's going to be corn. I would have to check with regulatory, but I think it's corn. I don't know.
Another question here is, so the keto diet was mentioned. Customer wants to know what particular part about MCTs helps prevent the onset of the keto flu, and how is it beneficial to the diet?
Sure. So they're in the MCTs being absorbed, again, directly into the liver to then form ketone bodies through that metabolism. Those ketone bodies that are supplied from the MCTs are what fuels the body during a ketogenic diet. And the more ketone bodies you have, then the higher fuel source you have, and that can help support the ketone sort of flu symptoms that may come up.
I forgot to hit my unmute button there, sorry. The last question I have here is, are there any ingredients that I should avoid that may counter-react with an MCT?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, there are some actives that MCT might solubilize that may delay its digestion in the intestinal tract, but I don't know. I'd have to, and again, that's specifically based on the MCT oil and not the powder, so I'm not sure.
Well, again, thank you everyone for joining us today. Should you still have questions after this call, I know we're coming close to the end here anyhow, please reach out to your ingredient consultant and ask those questions. Oh, sorry, never mind. Question came in. Is the MCT truly encapsulated? Is there risk of oxidation if pro-oxidants are used in the formulation?
So that's a great question. It's very difficult to determine whether or not encapsulation is 100% successful, in a spray-dried product. The benefit is that MCTs are saturated, and they therefore really are not prone to oxidation. There are no spaces within the fatty acid chain length for oxidation to occur. For the high oleic sunflower oil powders, that is a potential risk because they are unsaturated. But again, we have stability, we have data. They do not change color, they don't change flavor. The taste profiles do not change, and so within the micro encapsulated particle, whether or not it's fully encapsulated at all times, again, difficult to measure, but the lipids themselves are protected from oxidation. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Alice. So we'll wait a few minutes here to see if there's any additional questions, but as mentioned previously, please feel free to reach out, and thank you for your time today.